I'm really not feeling the song. It just doesn't hit it like the others did. It almost feels like, I don't know. Yeah, like it feels too chill. Or maybe this chapter's like more supposed to be chill, right?
Monthly sub for no ads on Higurashi playthrough.
Alright, Sonic, thank you for the 4. Welcome back. Alright, alright. Oh, here we go. Visual novel, it's so ass for me, I might as well just read a book or a manga. Okay, let me change the category on YouTube. Himatsubushi, right? This one's Himatsubushi, I think. Which one are we on? I think it's Himatsubushi. Yeah, okay. Alright, boom. Yoink. Alright, here we go. How many chapters in Higurashi? No promises. We roll with it. Do you remember, Ryuki? This picture. This is where I first proposed to you. That brief moment before you nodded back. You probably wouldn't know just how much it seemed like an eternity to me. Yes, I would have never thought that amount of time could feel like an eternity. Compared to how long I had to wait for you to propose to me, it was... From the moment I met you until today. Compared to the time I've spent since I was born, it might only be a brief period, but they were definitely precious, beautiful days that deserve to be called an eternity. That time continues even now. From now on, I wonder if it'll be a boy, or maybe a girl. Either one is fine. Boy or girl, either way is living proof that we love each other. If it's a boy, we'll name it after you, Mamoru. If it's a girl, we'll put the Yuki from my name into hers. Thinking about names is so fun that in the end, we still haven't decided yet. There's still time to puzzle over it. Not that long of a time, actually. You see, Yuki, there's something I have to apologize for today. It's about your job. Sorry. It looks like an annoying bit of work has come up. In the worst case, I might not be able to be there for the delivery. It's fine. You have a very important job. What you do protects the way we live. Compared to you, it's nothing. Please, go ahead. When you return, I'll be waiting here with our child. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry. Please don't apologize. If you feel guilty about it, then you can just atone. If I atone that much, no matter how much money I have, it won't be enough. Hee, it's a joke. Now, go on. Are you reading it like this, bro? It's a back and forth between them, you know? As I left the room, I bumped into an elderly man. It was Yuki's father. In other words, my father-in-law. Hey, Spider Freeze, I think
What
we're
a talent
22
to read.
months. Early Higu, yes sir.
聞き耳を立てるつもりはなかったが生きたまえ幸恵はああいう娘だ何があっても自分が君の枷になることを望むまい
私はこれまで幸恵に さまざまな犠牲を強いてきました。出産という人生の節目にまで彼女に犠牲を強いることを恥じます。
君が本当にそう思うなら、仕事が終わったら幸恵のために時間を割きなさい。君が仕事を投げ出して付き添ってくれるよりも、そうした方がきっと幸恵も喜ぶだろう。
ありがとうございます。
君がとても大切な仕事をしていることは私もよく知っている。自分の仕事を誇りに思いなさい。幸恵は君が見事難題を解決して凱旋するのを楽しみにしている。
His important work, streaming gacha games.
はい。
I jumped into the taxi that was waiting outside. Compared to the time when I first got here, the numbers on the fare meter had grown considerably. That's you in the future. He's got an HSR sponsor he's got to hit. It seemed a modest time Yuki and I had spent together wasn't so modest from an objective point of view. What game is this? It's called Higurashi. Sorry to keep you
やって
waiting.
ください。
いえいえ。では参りますよ。
Taxi jerked as it changed gears to accelerate, soon burying the hospital my wife was in behind a throng of buildings. If it was to end up as a really troublesome ordeal, I probably wouldn't be returning for quite some time. To call a rookie like me, and on top of that, one who's off duty, it seemed that the section chief was calling for all hands on deck. The veteran upper brass gathering on an emergency basis happened occasionally. This is the guy chat in the beginning that was gonna meet up with Oishi, that the flashback is started from. Yeah. This is the first time though that I experienced everybody gathering together like this. Whatever was happening, there was no doubt it was going to be something novel. Right when my wife was ready to give birth, if I wanted to spend the time to curse my misfortunes, I'd be here all day. Even the verdant ginkgo trees lining the street that always brightened my mood seemed to lack some of their usual luster. Eventually, the government office came into view. Briefly holding my breath, I let the feeling of tension course through my body once again. I had to remember the work I was doing was important, necessary, and difficult. I composed myself and sharpened my wit. Ready. The taxi stopped in front of the building. Kasumigaseki. Keseki?
室長、全員揃いました。赤坂くん、ブラインド下ろしてくれる？
The blinds were usually closed when they needed to use the projector, or if the discussion was going to contain some particularly disturbing content. The blinds closed with a satisfying sound, darkening the interior of the room. Immediately, the inside of the room was completely drained of the pleasant morning atmosphere, leaving behind only the cold illumination of the fluorescent lighting. After the supervisor ensured that everyone was present, he nodded to the section chief once again. With everybody on the edge of their seats, the chief stood up solemnly and began to give his report.
推定48時間前、建設大臣の孫にあたる建設省幹部の子息が誘拐された模様です。建設大臣は事態を穏便に済ませるため、警察へ通報せず要求に応じるものと思われます。
It seemed that approximately 48 hours earlier, the Minister of Construction's grandson, who was also the son of one of his senior staff members, was kidnapped. The reason why it was phrased that way was because the person in question didn't admit it had happened.
大臣宅の通話を監視した結果、都外からと思われる不審な電話が数件確認されました。
This is Mion, bro.
誘拐された子供は病気療養中となっているが、通院の形跡はなく、周辺での目撃例もなく、その他いくつかの理由から
Don't we know that the Sonozakis did this? I swear they said the Sonozakis kidnapped someone. Right? We already know that the Sonozakis did do this. Like, we were already told. And Mion, at a young age, was already taking charge. So, bro, it's 1978, you clown. Okay, Mion is like round about 13, 14, right? So 5 years before. Like, nah, bro, you know, she still would have. They said that Mion was a mainstay in the protest for the dam, which would have been at that age, right here. Mion wasn't even born yet. Are you fucking stupid, Satoko Hojo, you idiot? They literally said in the first 3 chapters that we played that Mion was like literally participating in the dam protest and was arrested multiple times. What are you saying? Here, they omitted the details that brought this incident to light. If you think about it a bit, that meant that before this incident happened, the minister's residence had been under surveillance already. I won't use the word spied upon. Of course, there wouldn't have been court approval for this, and it would have been very hard to explain to ordinary citizens. However, it was quite an effective method to catch wind of incidents like this before they got worse. I'd like for you to understand that dealing with these cases before they become a problem is the job of the Public Safety Division.
なぜ警察に通報せず要求を鵜呑みに？
大臣たる者が警察を信用できないってんだから。世も末だね。
犯人グループは
Are these
誘拐初期
Akasaka's
に
thoughts?
自分たち
Yes.
が大臣の生活をかなり高度に監視していることを警告し、その証拠を示した様子です。
It's Satoko's birthday today? They did say Satoko's birthday was a couple days after Watanagashi when birthday. Oh my god, it is Satoko's birthday.
大臣が屈服し、警察への通報も思いとどまるほどの何かですね。
警察へ通報しても
Yeah, am I
すぐに
disappearing
わかる
today?
ぞって？
大臣の近辺に内通者がいる可能性か。
Several of the higher ranking members who seem to have experience with this kind of thing let out deep sighs.
犯人グループの目的が要求にあるのか、事件そのものにあるのかは不明ですが、いずれにせよ、国益を脅かす事態に発展する可能性が極めて高い。
If their goal was to simply have their demands met for monetary gain, that would have been nice. However, if this was some politically motivated shakeup, things would get a lot more
被
complicated.
害者の協力がないということは、脅迫内容も要求も一切不明ということか。
本件は内通者の水準がかなり高いと思われるため、当室のみの極秘捜査とします。また本件は本日より最優先事項となり、これまでの通常業務を一時凍結して対応します。よろしいですね。
After that, the supervisor continued on, tactfully explaining our course of action. If this incident were to become public, it was possible that the minister's political life would be over. I'll spare you the explanation of how the rest of the dominoes would fall, but in the end, support in the Diet would decline, followed by a no confidence vote and a snap election. And it might even expand communist influences. In other words, we wanted to handle this
川
delicately.
崎と佐伯は大臣宅子供宅の通話を24時間監視。大臣の動向を探れ。動きがあるたびに逐一報告せよ。残る各職員は担当団体ごとに本件との関連を調査。最近動きが不穏な特殊ラインは集中的にやれ。
Damn, okay.
それから外国勢力も水を漏らすな。
Those goddamn communists, get their ass. I've experienced one or two unamicable situations before. This, however, was the first time I've seen things get so hectic. Several sophisticated conversations were progressing without the involvement of a rookie like me. I didn't intend to be timid, but I couldn't hide my confusion at this unfamiliar
では
situation.
書き打ちに行ってくれ。で、赤坂君は
I snapped back to the alertness upon hearing my name called.
赤坂君は大臣に陳情してきた環境保護団体関連を調査してくれ。中でも新聞でも騒ぎになってるひなみ沢ダム建設反対の団体を
The
よく調査す
Sonozakis?
ること。住民団体の仕業とは到底思えないが、全ての可能性を潰していかなくてはならない。
わかり
Mion?
ました。ひなみ沢ダム
直接現地へ行った方がいいだろう。現地県警で情報を取れ。かなり過激な団体らしく、向こうの公安でもマークしてるらしいぞ。
わかりました。
Radical
現地へ
group?
出向します。
奥さん、出産控えてるんだって？
He's so dead? No, he can't die. This is a flashback.
こんなタイミングで申し訳ないけど、協力頼むよ。時間がかけられないから、人海戦術で総当たりで行くしかないんだ。
ええ。
Chat, how do
わかってます。
you die in a flashback? That don't even make sense.
家内も自分の都合が私の仕事に触ることを嫌いますから。
Nothing is impossible. Yeah, can you imagine? You're just like sitting down one day. It's like, Huh. Remember that time. And like you like start having a flashback to a memory and then you just die in it. It's like the fuck.
すまん。ありがとう。それから、川崎くん、佐伯くん、君たちの応援には。
I didn't want to take a business trip when my wife was about to give birth. Even if I was a little busy, as long as I was in Tokyo, I could head to the hospital right away. On an assignment, though, that would be difficult. Even so, I knew the work I was doing was important and fully understood that I was in no position to be selfish. I'd have to make it up to my wife for having to be away at such an important time. My wife, Yuki, would probably forgive me with a smile. The only thing she could hate doing would be holding me back. My male ego, though, at least wished she would have tried to stop me. Sorry, Yuki. I don't mind if you always complain to our child that their father couldn't come to the hospital when they were born because he was too busy with work. The next day, I took the bullet train to Nagoya, and from there transferred to the train to XX Prefecture. Getting to my destination by land took several hours. If I was traveling by air, in that amount of time, I could probably get as far as Hong Kong. XX Prefecture was by no means close. I never sat in first class except for work, but whenever I did, the seats seemed stiff. Closing my eyes, I mentally reviewed the documents I read yesterday. The group under investigation, the Onigafuchi Guardians. They were a group of residents opposed to the development proposed under the Hinamizawa Dam project. The local protests were quite heated and were getting more radicalized. Even limited to what was written in the newspaper, there was bloodshed that occurred during a clash with riot police, interference with the dam construction, too many to count. The number of petitions, sit-ins, and direct appeals to the relevant organizations were innumerable. As an extension of that, there was a direct appeal to the Minister of Construction the other day.
これがそもそも今回この団体を調査することになったゆえんだ。
The land that they lived on was going to be submerged, so it was no wonder they would go into a frenzy over it. Even given that, though, could they really be capable of doing something like kidnapping the Minister of Construction's grandson in order to halt the project? From my take on it, I had serious doubts. This kidnapping plot was extremely sophisticated and complicated enough that it was believed there was some political backing. This wasn't something that could be pulled off by some group of local protesters. Well, just like the chief said, the plan was to eliminate all possibilities. While I'm in the XX police reference... police's reference... This dog is just laying there next to Lily. Police's reference room, taking my time investigating, the higher-ups in Tokyo would probably solve the case. Without my involvement entirely. Even if that was true, I couldn't regret being away from Tokyo while my wife was ready to give birth. This was work. There was really nothing that I could do. Why do I feel like something's bad's gonna happen to his wife or child? Like, they keep referencing it. Like, I feel like this is like a death flag, man. Like, he's gonna get cursed by Oishiro-sama and then, like, his fucking wife or child is gonna die. The announcement that we would be arriving at our destination soon snapped me back to wakefulness. Gogura. Gargura. What's wrong with... Okay.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟。
ええ、地元ではかなり賑わせているようです。
The prefectural police safety department already had the documents and a cup of tea ready and waiting for me.
早い話がダム反対の住民運動なんですが、事実上水没地域の住民すべてが決起したと言っていいでしょうね。死守なんて古風な言い方が示す通り、相当の決意と覚悟を持った連中です。そこら辺の温和な住民団体とは一線を画すと思っていただいた方がいいですね。
The stack of papers they had prepared for me in the document room was by no means thin.
発足当初はごくごく平均的な住民運動だったんです。それがいつだかの流血事件を境に急にヒートアップしまして、今では暴力主義団体かそれに準じるくらいの過激な勢力に成長したと言えますね。
Violent organizations usually indicate ones that enforce their own ideology without regards to the democratic process. Breaking that down, many of those organizations held extreme left revolutionary ideologies. Considering that, I couldn't help but be surprised that a citizens group would end up going this far. This has better story presentation than HSR and Genshin. Yeah, okay, bro. Pipe down over there. Radical citizens movements happen occasionally. It seemed, however, that this group was nothing as trifling as that. It seemed that I would have to reconsider exactly what this Onigafuchi Guardian was.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が要求。つまりダム計画の撤回を求めるために行いうる活動範囲はどの程度でしょうか。
Kidnapping of the minister's grandson was classified. That meant, of course, I couldn't tell the XX Prefectural Department about it
ご
either.
存知の通り、先週あった犬飼建設大臣への直訴事件では逮捕者も出ています。危険性は十分にありますね。
I skimmed over the list of criminal records related to Onigafuchi Guardians recorded in the documents. The contents were all violent, not giving me the barest hint of a feeling that these people were trying to uphold the law.
具体的に教えていただけますか。
The chief opened up a manila envelope, fished out several unorganized sheets, and spread them out on the desk.
建設現場への襲撃事件が最も多かったですね。初期の頃、電源コードの切断や錠前の鍵穴に石を詰める、投石による事務所の窓ガラス割り等の軽犯罪が頻発していました。
Okay, that don't seem that bad, you know? Of course, what really happened first were things like demonstrations, sit-ins, and distribution of pamphlets. Lively but democratic forms of protest. However, then the demonstrators and police clashed, which started a riot leading to numerous injuries and arrests. It was from then on that the Onigafuchi Guardians, like their name implied, began to take more demonic form of resistance.
襲撃が度重なれば地元警察による警備強化がなされるのでは。
それは警戒はしたでしょうね。でもあちらは地元ですから。闇に乗じて忍び込まれたらお手上げでしょう。
Might as well label the entire map of Hinamizawa village around the dam construction site enemy territory. No matter how alert the police were, the locals would just show them exactly how easy it was to sneak around.
警察が警備を固めてからは、むしろ挑発されたように過激化が進みました。ほら、この辺りからだいぶヒートアップしてるのがお分かりになります？
事務所の放火、建設重機の破壊工作。破壊？まさか爆弾でも？
いや、連中ですね。タンクに角砂糖を放り込むんですよ。
Thing Mion said, "See?"
あれやられたらエンジン焦げついちゃいますから。
Even in Japan, it seemed there had been people doing that to the vehicles of occupying forces right after the war. Compared to misdemeanors like breaking windows, it was extremely violent and aggressive.
そこまでやられたら地元警察の面目は丸つぶれですね。
放火はさすがにですね。それで地元警察が24時間体制の人員を大幅に増員しまして、それで建設現場への襲撃は一段落したようです。
He used the words quiet it down, but that was still smack dab in the middle of the list of crimes.
で、連中ですね。現場への直接攻撃が難しくなったと知ったら、今度は個人攻撃に切り替えました。最初に狙われたのが工事事務所の現場作業者でした。
After that, there was silence. What was being described to me was a guerrilla war fought in the jungle. Threats and violence against the workers. Harsh words and harsher rocks were thrown.
かなりの告訴がされているのに逮捕者があまり出ていませんね。
We've been watching these stats for quite a while now. Aren't you the one that said this is better story presentation than HSR and Genshin?
そりゃそうです。第一、目撃者なんかいないんですから。それどころか、現行犯だったにしたって、アリバイがポンポンポンとできちゃうんです。
ポンポンポン。
それはどういうことですか？
例えばですね、あなたがひなみ沢で歩いていて、ある男にナイフで刺されたとします。あなたは相手をよく覚えていて、名前も住所も特定できてるとします。ただし、ナイフには指紋がなく、物的証拠だけがない。まあ、ありがちな傷害事件だと思うでしょ。でも、ひなみ沢じゃ完全犯罪なんです。
Everybody is, the entire village are all in on it. To protect the man who's the perpetrator, they'll get their story straight and prepare an alibi. To that end, they'll probably even forge some
裁
evidence.
判にもつれ込ますほかないわけですが、何しろ物的証拠はない上、犯人を隠匿する証言だけは後から増えていく。検察も書類送検には二の足を踏むわけです。殺人ならいざ知らず、投石で額を切った、殴られてあざができた程度だと、仮に犯人を特定できたとしても、嫌疑不十分で送検されないことがほとんどです。
Every case is without a doubt perpetrated by someone in Hinamizawa, but they can't identify who. Even if they could figure out who it is, they're unable to obtain enough circumstantial evidence through due process. The villagers were all extremely well informed about this, and so the malicious, vicious, and tenacious personal attacks continued.
被害者はそれでは納得できないでしょう。検察審査会に再審請求を出さないのですか？
それはですね、審査員たちがみんな厄介ごとに巻き込まれたくないと思っているからですよ。南沢関係のトラブルには首を突っ込みたがらないんです。
The inquest committee is comprised of a random selection of local residents. In the event the prosecutor fails to get a conviction, they have the power to order a retrial. It's a system designed to assert the will of the people and the actions of expert prosecutors in the legal world. This case, however, being composed of local residents, has backfired.
首を突っ込みたがらない。それはなぜです？
なんて説明すれば、恐れられているって言えばいいのかな。あそこはね、少し特殊なんです。
It's a little special there.
何か政治的なバックボーンが存在するということですか？
いえ、そういうのとは少し違うというか、まあ怖がられていると思ってください。この辺りは口では少し説明しにくいんです。ああ、そうだ。わかりやすいのがありました。
Wiping his forehead with a handkerchief, he opened a file labeled as a list of members of Onigafuchi Guardians. It's just the entire fucking village.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の勢力にはですね、近隣の町々に強い影響力を持つ人間が多々おりまして、この辺をご覧いただけますか。
I looked. What I saw startled me. Prefectural and municipal assembly members, staff members of the chair of commerce, an executive of a business association, an executive of a town council association, and a PTA liaison. There were more than a few people with a lot of say both locally and in the neighboring regions.
この界隈では、南沢のダム反対運動は皆静観しているのが普通なんです。ダムを肯定するような発言をすると、どこでどう巡って不利益を被るかわからない。何しろ近隣の町の喉元は南沢出身の人間が抑えていますからね。
検察審査員のリストは非公開でしょう。報復がされないように何らかの措置が取られているはずでは。
一応非公開でプライバシーは守られてますがね。それを管理してるのは沖宮市役所の人間、つまり地元の人間なんです。守秘義務があるとはいえ、やはり人間のつながりは分かりませんからね。南沢の人間はそのあたりのつながりがことのほか強固ですから。
When you consider the obligation and duties people have to the region, the web of information thereby formed is nothing to scoff at. It's not uncommon for housewives in a neighborhood to know which kid from which house is what grade in which school, what subjects they're good at, and what vegetables they hate, among other things.
それにほら、南沢と遅延の深い暴力団組織がありましてね。これが今回の騒動に全面バックアップしてるらしいんです。
The Sonozakis!
こちらが出てくるのが一番効いてるみたいですね。
暴力団？ダムの建設反対で住民と一致？どういう利害が一致するのか読みがたいですね。
それは難しいことじゃないです。実はですね、この暴力団の組長がですね、南沢村の出身なんです。村の重鎮の一人の婿養子にあたりまして。
Exactly what was this Hinamizawa? I had thought it was some desolate, rustic village. However, for some reason, they exerted a strong influence on the surrounding areas and had a strong sense of unity. They would protect their village by any means necessary, even if that meant resorting to violence. The chief had said that they were afraid because there were numerous influential people living there, but somehow I got the feeling that they were afraid of the village itself. There was something clearly different from what I had read in the documents in Tokyo. This was no simple residential protest against the dam. For some reason, an uneasy feeling began to nestle itself at the back of my mind. I chose the most basic way to ask my question. In other words, I directly asked what I wanted to know.
室長、これは例えば仮の話ですが。
はい。
例えば、その鬼ヶ淵死守同盟がダム計画を頓挫させるため、要人を脅迫するようなことは考えられますか？
Chief replied
あり
immediately.
得るでしょう。事実、彼らは市役所や県庁、建設省の工事事務所にも押しかけ、恫喝まがいのことをしていますし、工事関係者の家族が不審者につけ回されたという事件も起こっています。
Well, that would make sense. To halt progress on the dam, they raided the construction site, destroying heavy machinery and lighting the construction office on fire. If they didn't have any qualms about doing that, threats and violence against people related to the dam would probably be no problem. But that was it. Even your everyday hoodlum could use threats and violence. However, this time it was the kidnapping of the minister's grandson, an abnormally high-level crime. Not only was pulling off the kidnapping difficult in the first place, but so was maneuvering to have the minister surrounded to their demands immediately. There was no way this was the work of amateurs. Did these people have the power to enact this large of a crime? That was the heart of the matter. Was the Onogufushi Guardians an organization capable of pulling this off? In order to ask that question once again, I chose the most basic method.
例えば、政府要人の関係者を誘拐して脅迫なんてことがあり得ると思いますか？
There's no way they could pull off something that big. That was the answer I was hoping for. If it was that answer, my work was as good as halfway done. I might be able to get back in time for my wife to give birth. That was how it was supposed to be. The chief, without a hint of hesitation, replied,
やるかもしれません。そこの知れない連中ですから。
Sorry, Yuki. Seemed like my work wouldn't end so simply after all. So did everybody have the same fucking ringtone?
ご苦労さん。担当地域での情報収集はどうですか？
順調です。これから現地警察の公安と接触できることになりましたので、現地へ向かう予定です。
What the fuck, Raishu? Are you live on YouTube now? Yes, sir, Dr. J. We're live here every day.
東京の調査の方はどうですか？
他の職員も順調に調査を進めているよ。でも調べる団体が星の数だからね。そんなに悠長に時間もかけられないし。
There were no new developments at this time. No matter how suspicious the Onigofuchi Guardians was, if they solved the case in Tokyo, my job was done. It looked like my wishful thinking wouldn't come to pass. Hanging up the phone, I let my gaze drift outside the window to the valley of unfamiliar buildings.
赤坂さん、今お貸しできる車が戻ってきました。ご案内しますので、こちらへどうぞ。
あ、すみません。
Show me to the elevator to the underground parking lot where a battered sedan was waiting for me. That the steering wheel kept drifting to the left was a little concerning, but it would be enough to get me around for a while. My destination was Shishibone City XX Prefecture, an area under the control of the Onigofuchi Guardians. The Okinomiya police station was right on the front lines. Oh shit. Are we meeting up with Oishi? Oishi-san? Okinomiya. Shishibone City was, as far as provincial cities went, rather behind the times. Okinomiya, recessed in the mountain, was even more remote. With little change between the seasons, all that was left was a tepid passage of time. It made for a rather drab town. There were no tourist attractions or local delicacies. Without even a strong regional industry, it was simply dull. Just looking at the monotonous and peaceful townscape, it was hard to catch a glimpse of the radical resistance of the Onigofuchi Guardians. The atmosphere of boredom didn't hint of the Okinomiya police station being on the front line of the dam conflict, nor of the numerous incidents that I heard about at the prefectural headquarters.
おはようございます。違反金の納付ですか？
いえ、公安部の本田屋さんにアポイントがあります。
Enkonomiya, no. This is 1978.
赤坂とお伝えください。
失礼しました。少々お待ちください。
The clerk, who thought that I was here for parking violation, after fumbling under the unfamiliar extension number, told the person on the line they had a visitor.
どうもどうも。赤坂さんでいらっしゃいますか？縁のはるばるお疲れ様でした。こんな部屋で申し訳ありませんね。応接室を押さえてあったんですがね。議員さんが突然お越しになっちゃったんで追い出されちゃいまして。
Just got an email. Uma Musume is out? What? I don't see nothing, you fucking liar. That's not out yet. This motherfucker. Suma Musume, Pretty Derby. Yeah, it's not out. Add to library. Oh, you could install it right now, though. Yeah, you could install it right now, chat. Shut up. Well, I'm listening to preload, okay? All right. It's out on Steam? Yes, it's on Steam. We are Uma Musume. All right. But the counselor suddenly woke up and chased me out. I was right, VIP, please shut up. It's not out. I mean, the preload's out, but I would hesitate to call where we were at a conference room, as it was very small and cluttered. The cramped space was packed with lockers. I had the impression that it was more of a change room that doubled as one for smoking. Listening to his crude chortles, I didn't get much of a feeling that Hondaya, who was head of the local public safety division, was much of an intellectual. Okay, just call him an idiot. But I knew that in exchange, he had both experience and absolute confidence in his instincts.
ご多忙中、突然お邪魔して申し訳ありませんでした。警視庁から参りました。赤坂と申します。よろしくお願いします。
公安部の本田屋です。よろしくよろしく。県警暴対の3階部長から協力を惜しむなと脅されておりますので。
暴対？県警の暴力団対策本部ですか？
うちじゃ鬼ヶ淵支所の連中は暴力団の延長に位置づけてますんでね。あれを善意の住民運動だなんてあんた、東城もいいとこですわ。
They said at the prefectural office too that the Oniguchi Guardians was linked to the local mob. If I recall correctly, the adopted son of somebody influential was a lieutenant in the gang.
そりゃ逆。全然逆ですよ。暴力団の活動があって、それに住民団体が大義名分みたいにくっついていると、そういう風に考えてください。逆逆。
Hondaya was just rolling with laughter. This was slightly different than the info given to me at the prefectural office, but somebody embedded locally would be more knowledgeable. While we were talking, occasionally some people who seemed to be detectives would come in and change. One of those individuals, noticing Hondaya's goof-offs, came up to us. Oishi?
何の話をしてるかと思えば。
Bro, how does motherfucker look the exact fucking same from like 5 years ago? Bro just didn't change at all, huh? Just looks like the same bum. All right. Okay. I can't do that laugh. All right.
おお、クラちゃん。ちょうどよかった。クラちゃんも入ってよ。こちら、はるばる東京の警視庁からお見えになった赤坂警部。
警部だなんて。まだまだ新米です。赤坂です。よろしくお願いします。
初々しいのがいいですね。採用は今年ですか？
How does he do this laugh? P5 Phantom X preload is also up? No. No, I don't think we do that here. We're an Uma Musume stream, okay? Base talt. No. Horses only. Alright? No personas. Okay? I could tell that this new person was like Hondaya, the type who had confidence in their instincts and experience. I really didn't like those types of people.
赤坂さんにもご紹介します。こちらは刑事部の大石君。赤坂さんがお問い合わせの S5 の件なら彼が詳しいです。
They only paid you to watch the stream and not play the game? Yup.
S5?
園崎の S。
I told you, chat. It's Mion.
S5 ってのはですね、園崎家が関連している件を示す、まあ、暗号みたいなもんなんです。
Sonozaki? Come to think of it, I remember when I was poring over the documents at the headquarters, there were quite a few people with the last name Sonozaki.
確か、園崎氏は鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の役員でしたね。確か、会計だったと思います。
The two of them were surprised when I rattled off what post that Sonozaki held. After a moment, both of them erupted into laughter.
赤坂さんでしたっけ？あなた、お勉強家さんですね。
It's Oishi motherfucker, bro. He just...
ひょっとして同盟の連中の主要人物全部暗記してるんじゃ？
暗記というほどではありませんが、一応鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の幹部リストは一読しました。
Stop laughing!
じゃあ会長と副会
The
長は？
motherfucker?
会長は現ひなみ沢村村長の君吉喜一郎氏。副会長は
Yeah, I know,
町
Nico. I
会神
started
社
my
部長の
preload.
古出氏。
Ooh.
会計が園崎を領して、会計監査は牧野氏。
Who the fuck is Makino?
教頭部長が君吉義郎氏。
You know everybody
広報
else
部長
except for...
が園崎貞夫氏。
Never heard of Makino. Huh. Okay.
赤坂さん、あなたなかなかやりますね。給料安いけどうちに来ません？うちに一番必要で一番いないタイプですよ。で、ちなみに園崎貞夫は青年部長なんです。惜しいですね。広報部長は園崎忠孝。
This guy's such a fucking loser. Feeling like I wasn't being complimented at all, I started settling into an uncomfortable mood. However, I was becoming more and more aware that I was the weakest link in this investigation, so I just had to bear with it. I didn't mean for that feeling to show up on my face, but the crafty detectives didn't let that slip by.
バカにしたつもりはないんです。お詫びと言っちゃなんですが。なんでしたら村を実際にご案内しましょう。
For somebody with no feel for the area like me, it would be great help. I couldn't have asked for more.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟っていうのは結局ひなみ沢村の対外的な別称に過ぎません。村を知ることがあなたのお仕事の近道だと思いますよ。いかがです？
The residential move... The fuck? The residential movement, in other words, held influence over the whole region. So the leader of the movement was the leader of that influence. Just like that, the thought process in the region would become the overall personality of the movement. Just like Oishi had said, in order to learn what they really were really like, this regional force behind the dam protests, getting to know the village was the quickest way.
よろしくお願いします。
Nothing nodding back without skipping a beat, Oishi laughed in satisfaction and stood up. If I took the information I learned at the prefectural office and from Hondaya to heart, if my position was exposed, my personal safety was at risk. The opponent was an extremist group that had no qualms about using threats or violence against somebody. If my personal info was leaked, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that I'd be in danger, whether on the job or not. Thinking that, I felt a little nervous.
連中は顔覚えるの早いですからね。私と一緒にいるところを見られると多分いろいろあなたのお仕事に差し支えると思います。月並みですがね、こいつを身につけておいてください。
Sunglasses? Oishi handed me an incredibly suspicious disguise comprised of a baseball cap, sunglasses, and a mask. I didn't want to get all hot and stuffy, but Oishi's warnings was probably right on the money. Considering that, I put them on with appreciation. I looked so suspicious that Oishi had to smile wryly.
どこまで話しましたかね。
御三家という旧家が村を支配しているというところまでです。
The Onigafuchi Gardens was the same as the village of Hinamizawa itself, meaning there was a direct correlation between being an executive in the alliance and being a leader in the village, as Hondaya had told me a short time ago. If the village was ruled by 3 ancient families, then it would mean the Onigafuchi Guardians was ruled by those same 3 families.
県警の資料には何て書いてありました？死守同盟のリーダー格とかそういうことについて。
Documents I was using were classified. If I responded to Oishi's question, it'd be a breach of security. However, most likely, this man I judged was more well versed in the situation than any of the documents at the prefectural police department, so I decided to answer him.
同盟の会長は現村長の君吉喜一郎と。
Oishi, upon hearing that, let out a small chuckle. For him to ask like that and to laugh at the answer as it was recorded in a document meant that wasn't the case in
では
reality.
君吉氏以外の影の人物がいるということですね。
It's the fucking Sonozakis, bro.
県警の持つ、いや、一般的な情報とは異なり。
君吉のじいさんなんてただのお飾りですよ。そもそもこの村じゃ村長なんてポスト自体も形式だけなんです。
つまり同盟も村も本当の意味で支配している別の存在がいる。それが先ほどおっしゃられていた御三家という。
まあそのあたりはこれからご説明します。
All of a sudden, with a thunk, the car suddenly lurched. The paved road had given way to a gravel one. At the same time, the scenery outside the window changed. The Hinamizawa Dam project must be withdrawn. Overthrow the shameless puppet of a governor. The dam will submerge the natural beauty of Hinamizawa. Protect the village from the unethical dam. Fear the wrath of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Oh no, not Oyashiro-sama. Demolish the dam. Those involved must go away. The construction office must respond. The construction office manager must negotiate with us. Signs and banners crowd at the roadside. Even reading the brush-scrawled words was daunting. It was as though where the road just changed was a border with a different country. At that moment, I was startled by the car suddenly braking. Looking ahead, a barricade had been erected. About 5 or 6 protesters wearing masks and helmets to hide their faces were blocking the road, yelling at us angrily to stop.
これは何ですか？
And I bet Mion is one of them.
検問？
はあ？懲りない連中だな。
Oishi snorted as he rolled down the window and leaned out.
おいおいおい、あんたらダメだよ、こんなとこで道を塞いじゃ。
As Oishi glared at them with a malicious laugh, they visibly
道
faltered.
それじゃ通れないでしょ。
Who would have thought it was Oishi's car? That panicked thought seemed to make them lose their presence of mind.
大石刑事の車と分かってればこんなご無礼はしなかったんですがね。
What a soy ass protester.
大石刑事、いつもの車はどうされました？ 車検ですか？
そんなところです。台車ってのはどうにも馴染みませんね。
Judging from their brief conversation, I could guess that they were familiar with the license plate of the car Oishi normally used. In other words, if they knew the car belonged to the police, they would have hidden the barricade. What they were doing was obviously obstruction of traffic. Blatant crime.
そっちの怪しい男は誰です？あんた、顔を見せてくれませんか？
The man glared at me menacingly, wearing a mask and sunglasses made me look particularly dubious. Would not showing my face get me into some unnecessary trouble? I turned to Oishi to see what I could do.
彼の顔は勘弁してあげてください。まだまだ新米でシャイなんですからね。
不審な輩じゃないか確認しようってだけです。最近のひなみさんは物騒ですからね。
あんたのうち鏡歪んでるのと違います？
Wow.
あんたのその面の方がよっぽど不審ですよ。な。
The man and Oishi continued to talk like that, feigning smiles at one another. However, from the beginning into the end, I couldn't get over the feeling I was sitting on a powder keg.
ゴミの不法投棄車両まだ減らないんですか？オタクたちも本当に朝晩大変ですね。
警察の方にもご理解とご協力をいただけて助かりますよ。
During that conversation, the barricade was moved, leaving a gap wide enough for a single car to get through. Was the man speaking like he's confronting ice? Oishi lightly honked the horn once and began to roll the car forward. I could see the men's antagonistic glares at the back of the car in the rearview mirror.
何ですかさっきのは。勝手に行動を封鎖するなんて。
もちろん犯罪ですよ。目くじら立てても始まりませんがね。連中の主張じゃですね、村内に不法投棄をするトラックが出没するって言うんです。それを封じ込めるために不審車両を検問してるって話だそうで。
不法投棄？参拝を勝手に捨てようとする悪徳業者のことですか？
警察が何の手も打たないから自分たちで自衛するっていう論法でしてね。まあ参拝なんて話はどうせ自演だからどうでもいいんですがね。
自演？
連中うまい作戦なんですよ。ダム現場にですね、工事妨害のために参拝ゴミを自分たちでばらまいてるんです。で、それを悪徳業者のせいってことにして臨検を設置すると。それで工事車両をいちいち足止めして
Fun fact, Oishi's VA has more than 10 roles in isekai of a fat rich nobleman who has slaves and get fucked at the end? What? Okay. What the fuck are you watching?
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の抵抗運動の一つというわけですね。
多分今の検問でこの車のナンバーが割れましたからね。
Oishi was always a freak.
もうこの先には一切検問の真似事はないと思います。連中も私を怒らせると得をしないことだけはよーく骨身に染みているようですからね。
But why? They're willing to kidnap a fucking governors or like, you know, a big minister's son. Why would they be scared of fucking Oishi, who's just a cop?
この車が工事関係車両だと知れるとですね、散々検問で足止めを食らうばかりか、投石や鉄釘のばらまきなんかも食らうって噂です。あなたも
I mean, yeah,
身
he
もと
could
ら
be
われないよう
Oishiro's
にせい
servant,
ぜ
but
い気をつけた方がいいですよ。
you think Oishi has actually just been working for Oishiro-sama this whole fucking time? Or like the village? They've just been working with the village the whole time, and he's just been... Well, think about it. Because remember one time? Keiichi or not one time, but almost every time that Keiichi kind of devolves into madness, right, is because of this fucker. Oishi, every single time things go wrong, Oishi's the fucking one that causes it. So, like, what if he's, like, the instrument to causing the fucking lunacy?
公安なんてバレたらどんな目
Then
に遭うや
again, Oishi... Also, remember last chapter, Chan? Oishi was never found. He just disappeared. There was no body. He was never dead. He just disappeared. So... I don't know. Not blaming Mion anymore? Well, like, Mion's still fucking... You know, Mion's still, like, protesting as part of it, but, like, you know... Oishi was acting like we were talking about something fun, but for me, it was no laughing matter.
なるてどこぞの内戦の国に迷い込んだような錯覚です。
あんた、そりゃうまい言い方です。今言われたのはまさにその通り。
9 years Mion did all this? Bro, did you not pay attention? They literally said Mion has taken part in doing all the fucking dam protests back when she was a kid. Oishi turned to me with a grin and menacing laugh.
ここはね、戦争地帯なんですよ。
The car slowed down a bit as it went down a narrow road through some farmland.
あそこの森の中に家があるのが見えます？古い感じの。
Looking at where Oishi was pointing, there certainly was an old, traditionally designed house. It's probably the Sonozaki
あれが
house.
村長の君吉のじいさんの家です。君吉本家とも言いますな。分家筋が多いですから、御三家の一つにあたります。
御三家、ひなみ沢村を支配している旧家ですね。
そうそう。で、もう一つが古出家。こっちは分家どころか、もう神主一家しか残ってませんがね。ちょうどあっちの方にね、神社、そこの神主をしています。ちなみにね、死守同盟の事務所はその神社の敷地内にあります。
The office of the Onigofuchi Guardians. If these guys were the enemy, that would make the shrine their stronghold.
そこを見ることはできますか？
神社は古出家の私有地でね、警察といえど令状がないと踏み込めません。電柱のバックには村の息のかかった議員もいますからね。警察にも強いところと弱いところがあるってことです。御三家とは言ってもですね、そりゃだいぶ大昔のことなんだそうです。大昔はその御三家ってのは合議して村のいろいろなことを決めてたらしいですな。
ということは
あんたいちいち察しがいいですね。さすが高学歴。
Car braked to a halt with a squeal. Ahead of where we stopped were several signs. Private property beyond, no trespassing. Beware of poisonous snakes. Danger, turn back. Intruders will be charged an entry fee of 1 million yen. Signs were erected there with things like that written on them. The road was separated from the forest by a chain-link fence wrapped in barbed wire.
私有地なんでここまでです。この先は監視カメラがいくつも仕掛けられてます。
Oh, bro, I just fucking died.
うっかり道に迷いました。なんて論法が通じる相手じゃありませんからね。
こ
の先がそうなんですね。
The people currently controlling Hinamizawa and the Onigafuchi Guardians were neither the Kimiyoshi family nor the Furude family, but the last of the three. Oh, man.
この先にあるのが御三家の一つ、園崎家。ひなみ沢村を影から支配する連中です。
Among the list of executives recorded in documents, the number of people with last names from the three families was quite high. Holy fuck. Of course, Sonozaki was no exception. However, at the top was the Kimiyoshi family. If the Kimiyoshi family seemed to be in charge, the rulers behind the scenes were the Sonozaki family. 07 Oyashiro got him. Oyashiro-sama's trying to choke me out. His double layered structure implicitly told me that this village had both a light and a dark side.
園崎家の頂点は現当主の園崎お涼っていうばあさん
What
で
if I
す。
start clawing at my throat? Get some water, bro. I drank water. It's not
園
helping.
崎天皇なんて呼ばれるくらいにその発言には影響力があるそうです。気をつけてくださいよ。
Oh my god, it's
大
her
物
footstep.
です。市長だって最敬礼でお迎えするような VIP ですからね。まあ、ひなみ沢と周辺の町に住む
Wait,
村の親族の数千
I heard
の
a
評伝を固めてるわけですから、政治家は頭上がらないんでしょうが。
okay. Chat. Chat, hate to say it, the world's ending. Hope you guys have gas masks at 2 a.m. 3 to 5 a.m. tomorrow, okay? So
つまりその人物が鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の事実上のトップということですね。
fuck, man.
そうなります。
With those words, Oishi pulled out a well-worn cigarette box. Suspected kidnapping of the minister's grandchild and subsequent threats. Were these part of the hidden plot by the Onigafuchi Guardians in order to have Hinamizawa Dam project cancelled?
あなた、東京からはるばる調べにいらしたんですよね。
ええ、そうですか。何か。
じゃあほら、あれ、犬飼大臣への直訴事件の絡みですかな。要するに、あれで要注意団体ってことで公安がマークすることになったと。そういう感じですか。
大石さんこそお察しが早くて助かります。
While exhaling out cigarette smoke, Oishi smiled broadly like I'd just pulled a good one on him. Or so I thought. His smile was disappearing. His smile disappeared suddenly.
嘘でしょ。
Oh shit, bro. He's fucking saying the thing as well. Oishi and Rena are the same person?
だから、直訴事件でマークがついたっての。嘘でしょ。
Oishi knew there was no way that Tokyo HQ would dispatch an investigator over something as minor as a direct appeal. If they were to dispatch someone, it had to be for a more dire reason. He had figured out as much. I thought of myself as the type of person who doesn't let things show on their face. In front of his watchful gaze, however, I felt that what I was thinking was completely laid bare. Oishi silently lit another cigarette as if waiting for me to interject during this awkward pause. I see. So this was a veteran detective's way of getting someone to spill information. But as long as I realized this, there would be nothing more. If I didn't open my mouth, I wouldn't have to lose anything. All I had to do was stare out the window and enjoy the scenery until Oishi gave up.
あなたって人は本当に隠し事が下手な人ですね。そういう素直で初々しいの悪くないな。
Oishi smirked as he twisted out his third cigarette when I tried not to let him notice that I had yielded completely. At first I thought I had won, but at the very least Oishi had ascertained that I was hiding something, meaning that I might have ended up marching to his tune. Oishi started up the engine once more and began to move the car.
素直なところを教えてくれりゃもっとお力になれると思ったんですがね。
素直に話したらどう力になれるんです。
If the cat was out the bag, I might as well use it to catch some mice.
内容によりけりですがね。ひなみ沢界隈に詳しい情報屋に引き合わせてあげてもいいですよ。
協力員。
そっか。
どうして私の任務に興味を？大石さん。
そりゃあんたと同じです。常に知るのが私たちの仕事じゃありませんか。
Being able to meet with Oishi's informant was an extremely compelling opportunity. We were looking to recruit somebody familiar with the area to collaborate for intelligence. In the end, there was no better method for finding people than asking. We were always taught, however, that the rank-and-file police were no better than monkeys. Well, unlike us, they were careless with confidential cases. We looked down on them like they'd run their mouth off in a drunken stupor. Fucking Saiyans. Oishi was an outlaw even amongst them, and here I was lost on whether or not I should tell him about the kidnapping of the minister's grandson.
その情報協力員はどの程度鬼ヶ淵自主同盟に精通を？
あんたも公安の人間ならわかるでしょう。そんなの私の口からたとえあなたにだって話せるわけないじゃありませんか。
Protect your sources. That was the first principle of dealing with confidential information. In that regard, it seemed that Oishi wasn't one of those monkeys. Should I trust him, ask for his help, or not?
あなたは国、私は金に雇われてますがね。私たちの職務はそう大きくは違わないと思っています。力になれると思うんですがね。
Okay. Seems the great Jedi purge is in effect. What is this? 70% of the employees from Memento White Shadow Studio have resigned. I mean, yeah, who cares, bro? I don't care about this game at all. However, I had trouble believing that this crafty old man would simply help me just like he claimed. Now, how should I go about this?
大石さんほどの方が無償で力になってくださるとはちょっと思いがたいですが。
Do we have a lot of people that played Memento White Shadow?
そりゃ下心がないわけじゃないです。あんたら確か協力員に支払える謝礼用の予算を持ってますよね。
Brax played? Damn.
領収書不要な予算を。
So you're telling me a game Brax likes is EOSing, and a game Brax doesn't like it's your restart. It is continuing.
そいつでですね、情報屋との接触にかかるコストをちょいと。
つまり情報屋と渡りをつける謝礼をあなたにお支払いしろということですね。取引内容が明快で助かります。
He certainly was something else for being able to brazenly state his ulterior motive like this. Rather than him doing this out of kindness of his heart, everything was a lot clearer if he was being compensated for this deal. I felt that he was the type of man who was good at these backroom dealings.
誤解しないでくださいよ。お金が必要なのは私にじゃなくて情報屋になんですからね。
It's Satoko's family, I think, chat. I think this is Satoko's dad. Or Satoko's original family. It might be? Because remember, they weren't very well off. They needed like money, and like some of the windfalls from like siding with the pro dam side was basically a way for them to like get like a little bit of a better life for themselves.
まあ支払いの関係上お金は私が預かりますがね。
支払いはいつ？
今すぐがいいですね。ないなら明日でもいいんですよ。
Pulled out a wallet that was different from my personal one. The price was pretty much fixed depending on what kind of information I was paying for. In this case, the payment was up front. Also, considering the fact I didn't know what kind of info I would get, I shouldn't pay too much. When I suggested that, Oishi suddenly stretched out his hand and tightly grasped the contents of the
こう
wallet.
いう時はですね、ケチケチしない方がいいんです。大丈夫大丈夫、損はさせませんから。
わかりました。ケチケチしないことにします。
で、調べたい情報は何です？内容によって多少アプローチが変わることもありますので。
他言無用を誓ってもらえますか？大石さん。
誓うまでもありませんよ。私もあなたたちと職務上知り得たことは他言できませんからね。わかりましたよ。誓います。ここで聞くことは他言無用です。それに あなたのおかげで溜まってたツケを全部返せるんですからね。私は少なくとも金の絡んだ約束は絶対に違いませんよ。
Oh boy. I was still unsure if I should trust him until the very last moment, but in the end I broke down. Oishi wasn't the type of guy I could trust 100%, but there was no mistaking. He had access to underground information networks. In order to accomplish my mission swiftly, I needed his cooperation. I set my resolve.
鬼ヶ淵主導名がある事件に関与しているか否かを調査しています。
I don't know, I did, but like something stuck in my neck. I think I like huffed in a piece of like Dodi's hair and it's like stuck in my throat. It's like itchy.
犬飼建設大臣が何者かに脅迫を受けている可能性があります。
可能性とはまた遠回しな言い方ですね。
大臣の近辺に内通者がいるらしいのです。その内通者によって高度に監視されているらしく、大臣は脅迫初期から屈服している様子です。警察へも我々へも一切通報していません。
なるほど。だから脅迫を受けている可能性という言い方になると。だとすると妙ですね。大臣が誰にも通報しないなら、どうしてあんたらは事件を知ったんです？
If we didn't spy on the minister's private life, we would have never found out.
その説明は私が情報屋に提供する必要がないと思われるので割愛します。
Oishi had apparently caught on and quietly chuckled when I refused to explain.
なるほど。大臣の近辺にスパイがいるらしいから公安だけの極秘調査ということになったわけですか。そりゃあ確かに穏便な話じゃないですね。
ことを公にすれば大臣の政治生命も含め政変に発展する可能性は極めて高いでしょう。犯人グループの目的がそこにあるならば有識事態に発展する可能性があります。
政府の列島改造はまあいろいろ方々との衝突も多いらしいですからね。どんなささやかなケチでも一つつけば野党勢力がドット票を伸ばす可能性もある。
We're still on the first chapter. This is a long as fuck chapter, man.
大臣がどのような要求を受けているのかは現在調査中です。ですが脅迫の方法だけはほぼ分かっています。
何です？
大臣の孫の誘拐です。周辺は否定していますが最後の目撃から見てすでに誘拐後72時間が経過していると思われます。
No, probably not. I'm gonna play Uma Musume tomorrow instead.
3日ですか。波の身代金目的ならもう決着してますね。
金銭でなく大臣に何らかの政治的なアクションを要求している可能性が極めて高いでしょう。それを我々は黙認するわけにはいきません。
で、それの犯人グループとの可能性として鬼ヶ淵死守同盟がリストに上がったわけですね。
そうです。
大臣の孫を誘拐してダム計画の撤回を求めるか。
どうでしょう大石さん。その可能性はあなたから見てあり得ると思いますか？
Oishi seemed to ponder the idea for a while. The section chief at the regional office had responded immediately with, "It's possible." However, Oishi, who was this well informed about the matter, was hemming and hawing. Finally, just a little bit, he said something that was really just a little bit strange.
明治前まではですね、この辺りはひなみ沢村って名前じゃなくて鬼ヶ淵村って呼ばれてたそうです。うちのばあ様の受け売りですがね。
This topic was so completely and suddenly unrelated to the subject of the kidnapping of the minister's grandson that I was taken slightly aback.
鬼ヶ淵村。それで鬼ヶ淵主導名という名称になったわけですね。
鬼ヶ淵村ってのはですね、人食い鬼の住む村だと言われてたんだそうです。今でも村人は自分の体に鬼の血が半分流れてると信じてます。
人食い鬼。 大石さん、それ何の話ですか？
情報ですよ。さっきあなたからたくさんもらっちゃいましたからね。少しもらいすぎました。その分サービスしてあげてるんですよ。
Oishi finally smiled, but didn't seem like he was fooling around.
先を続けてください。
人食い鬼たちはですね、普段は仙人と崇められてひっそりと暮らしているんですがね、やっぱり人食いですから定期的に麓の村に降りてきては獲物をさらっていったんだそうです。それをですね、鬼隠しと言いまして。
Demoned away. It was the first time I heard such a peculiar phrase. However, I felt something slightly ominous from this horrifying tale of demons abducting people in order to eat them.
ほら、よく世間一般に神隠しっていうのがあるじゃないですか。人がある日突然失踪してしまうとそう言うでしょ。この辺りでは同じことがあると鬼隠しって呼ぶんです。
その昔話と本件に何か関係が？
いえいえ、直接的には何の関係もない。ただのおしゃべりですがね。ただ、
Ka-thump, ka-thump. The car shook. At some point, the gravel road had changed to a paved one.
ただ、何です？
この土地に鬼隠しという名の失踪、誘拐を暗示するキーワードがある。ということ、今回の大臣の孫の誘拐と関係あるかは分かりませんがね。まあ、深い話ではないんです。そんな言われの話があるということだけでもね。
Oni Kakashi, human-eating demons coming down to the foothills and abducting their prey. Then, in order to cancel the dam project that threatened to submerge the village they lived in, did they demon away the minister's grandson? Then, had they already made an example out of the minister's grandson and eaten him alive?
ちょっと興味深い昔話ですね。
鬼たちの村にみだりに踏み入れば、たちまち囚われ食い殺される。だから鬼ヶ淵村には近づくな。今時の若者はこんな迷信信じませんがね。沖宮の明治生まれの年寄り連中には今でも真面目に信じてるのが多いですよ。
Hinamazawa village was feared by the people in the area. I recalled that piece of information I heard from the prefectural public safety division.
何しろこの辺は田舎ですからね。迷信なんかが平気で幅を利かせてるんです。東京から来られた赤坂さんにはちょっと想像もつかないでしょうがね。
The man-eating demons, as the price for violating the sanctity of their village, kidnapped the minister's grandson and swallowed him whole. That ludicrous idea flew through my head. It was so absurd I was half disgusted with myself. Oishi was just teasing me. Stupid. It was all really so stupid. Come to think of it, by then, I may have already been seized by the curse of that dubious village. For me to realize that would take a little more time. Oh shit. He's already fucking cursed, bro. Wife, kid, it's Jover. That was the first fucking chapter. When immediately 4 tips? The chick in the trunk. Wait, what? Gears and fire and the taste of honey. The chick in the trunk. A record of opening remarks. Phone call with Yuki. What the fuck? Holy. Oh, let's go next chapter. Okay. Waking up in a cheap hotel in the city was by no means pleasant. I remembered even during the long camping trips we had during grade school, I wanted to go home quickly, counting out the days left on my fingers. Waking up this morning, I was somehow reminded of that. Was it a need to be with my wife when she gave birth? A particular type of homesickness? As a productive member of society, as a public servant bound to fulfill his duties, it was pathetic indeed. Those negative emotions faded as I downed my breakfast, which was surprisingly not half bad. The meeting with the informant that Oishi had provided would be tonight. Till then, I couldn't just be lazing around. The Onigafuchi Guardians was protesting the dam's construction in various ways. Included in this was a strategy for improving public relations, which could be categorized in two major forms, combative and peaceful. In regards to the former, as an attempt to keep law enforcement in check, they appealed to the public sympathy by highlighting the oppressive and inhumane tactics of the police and brutality of the riot squads. The latter peaceful route stressed how precious the natural surrounding of Hinamizawa was, seeking people who would oppose the dam on environmental grounds. As a part of that, the village of Hinamizawa had invited celebrated zoologists and botanists, as well as environmental groups, to advertise the nature surrounding the town. According to the news, in recent years there had been a group calling itself Hinamizawa Nature Watching, setting up free sightseeing tours. I would have liked to have taken advantage of the opportunity, but when I called the village administrative offices, they said it was too late to apply for the tour, and they were still undecided as to when they'd be doing another one.
そうですか。次回の募集はありませんか。残念です。
あんた、環境保護団体さんですか？それとも雑誌さんの人？
いえ、個人です。
個人？観光ですかね？
観光みたいなものです。美しい自然を写真に残すのが趣味なんで。
Tomitake?
雑誌でとても貴重な自然が残っていると読んだので、楽しみにしていたのですが。
I knew there was an article that had something like that written in it, but I hadn't actually read it. Was it this ad-libbed lie not going to work? However, contrary to my expectations, the person I was speaking to laughed happily.
ならあんた、検査来なさい。村はちょいと慌ただしいけど、歓迎しますよ。
ぜひそうさせていただきます。ありがとうございます。
あんた、明日は何ですか？お車？もしそうだったら、先にナンバーを聞いてくれますよ。タイはないんですがね。
It was probably related to the checkpoints they'd set up on the way to the village. If I didn't give my license plate number, I'd most likely be hindered in various ways. Thought about using the car I had borrowed from the prefecture, but I was lost on whether it was okay to tell them that plate number. The Onifuchi Guardian was behind this incident. There was no guarantee that they wouldn't be able to find out who I was. I had to play it safe, so I elected to refrain from using the car.
いえ、実は車ではないんです。バスか何かがあれば、それで行きたいのですが。
バスならありますよ。もうすぐ廃線になってますそうですがね。そんでいらっしゃい。沖宮の駅から出ますよ。
ありがとうございます。探してみることにします。
本当、いつ来ます？ひなみざわさ初めて？初めての土地じゃいろいろとご不安でしょう。教えてくれりゃ誰か行かせていろいろご案内させますよ。
そんな、そこまでしていただくのは申し訳ないです。
気にせんでください。これも村の自然さ守るためのPRなんですから。
Judging by what I saw at the checkpoint, the villagers were at the very least wary of outsiders. That's why in order to move in and out of the village freely, I had to travel with somebody like Oishi or side with the dam protest. Having an interest in the natural environment surrounding the village tied into the peaceful type of PR that the village was using. I was a bit against having a watchdog attached to me, but that might actually work out in my favor. The entire village was fired up about the dam protest, so I might be lucky enough to hear some especially candid opinions from the residents. Given that, there was no real reason for me to refuse their offer.
本当によろしいのでしょうか。でしたら本当に。
Thank God this guy is not as dumb as Keiichi, but this guy's a like full adult that's about to have a kid, like detective. Like if he was as dumb as Keiichi, that'd be very worrisome. Keiichi's like 14. After that, I was shown the bus schedule and directed to which bus I should get on. Somebody would come and meet me at the bus stop in the village. After showing me around a spot I'd taken interest in, there was no doubt they'd bring me to somewhere like an anti-dam information center. Then, over a cup of tea, they try and indoctrinate me into accepting their principles and beliefs. Well, if that was their aim, there'd be a lot of freebies involved. The world is about give and take after all. I couldn't be going in a suit. I pulled some plain clothes out of my travel case and changed into something more casual. After that, after calming down by watching some local television, I left the hotel and set out for Okinomiya Station. The bus route that I was told would soon be discontinued certainly didn't look that way. There was more than enough trips on the schedule, and the number of passengers was by no means sparse. It was the main link to Okinomiya, the only town in the area. The type of passengers that stood out were old folks who didn't look like they could drive, and housewives who didn't seem like they had a license. If the area was submerged at the bottom of the lake, it wouldn't matter if there was a bus route. That's why it was going to be discontinued, in the unnatural scheme of things. I could catch a glimpse of the government's intent in cutting off their means of transportation to bully the village into emptying out sooner. It makes sense, according to the documents. Talks between the Ministry of Construction and the locals broke down quite early. The government decided from the start to take an aggressive stance on the matter. It was like the fairy tale with the north wind and the sun trying to get the traveler to remove his cloak. Even their bullying had meaning to it. The reason why the Onigafuchi Guardians resisted so violently was because the government was doing unseemly things like that. I was somebody who lived in Tokyo, so for a village or two out in the boonies like this to be submerged didn't seem like a big deal. But I guess for somebody actually living here, it would be a vitally huge problem. This route will be discontinued at the end of this financial year. Thank you for your patronage up to this point. We look forward to your continued patronage on our other lines. Okinomiya Transportation. Gazing lazily at the notice of discontinued service posted inside the bus, I counted down the number of stops until the designated one. Along the way, we passed through the checkpoint before without stopping. They knew what time the bus was coming, so they had opened up the barricade ahead of time. From here on out was enemy territory. My palms had at some point become coated in a thin film of sweat.
浮田水道前、浮田水道前、お降りの方はいらっしゃいませんか?
I hurriedly pressed the stop request button as the designated stop was announced. For none of the numerous passengers to be getting off here meant that it must be quite a remote place. Oh my god, it's bright as fuck. In actuality, the stop I got off at was so abnormally run down that I could tell it was barely used. As soon as I stepped out, an intense atmosphere completely different than the interior of the bus assailed my body. Uh-oh. This is familiar. Right now, Oishu or Hondaya weren't beside me. That's right, at the present, I was alone in the middle of enemy territory. My adversaries probably thought I was just an ordinary tourist, but that was nothing more than a ruse. But if by some mistake my true identity was to be exposed, it brought back the terrifying words I had heard at the prefectural office, that if somebody was attacked in Hinamizawa with a knife, there wouldn't be any evidence left behind. I didn't seem suspicious, did I? My clothing was currently casual. It was exactly the type of clothing that a city slicker that viewed the countryside as a wholesome getaway would wear. A camera and a knapsack. Inside were various things needed for hiking. It was still only June, and maybe it was unusual, but the sun was shining down like it was already the middle of summer. The fact that I didn't bring a hat must seem odd. No, it wasn't something to be that concerned about. It's alright, I was just a normal tourist. Just normal. Was there anything suspicious about me? Asking that as I turned around to look at the bus that was departing. All the passengers by the windows were staring down at me silently. What the fuck? Uncle W? They were staring right at me, as if they had seen right through my proud little outfit, just staring, looking down on me. Countless stares rained down like needles on me from the windows opened to air out the bus. All that rained down were stares. None of them were saying a word, but all the more, their silent stares told me more than a million words could. Hurry up and go back to Tokyo, you outsider. There was no reason for me to speak. My quiet voice was drowned out by the voice that sounded the engine. The bus, as if to torment me, set out slowly, and after doing more than enough to intimidate me, sped off. A thin film of sweat began to rise from my entire body. According to the documents, it was a village that seemed wary of outsiders. Its population was small as well. If they saw an unfamiliar face, they would be quick to identify that face as an outsider. On top of that, nobody else had gotten off at the spot. It was a bus stop that they normally just passed on by. Somebody actually getting off there. There was no doubt that had drawn some attention. But this wasn't a slip-up. They were the ones who directed me to get off at the spot. There was nothing to worry about. I knew that I was just nervous since this was my first undercover assignment. My more seasoned colleagues referred to us as the new generation that didn't know how to lose their cool, but that wasn't true at all. In order to calm my breathing down, I exhaled the unpleasant air residing in the pit of my stomach. I couldn't help but pray that my apprehensions would disappear like the white clouds of exhaust expelled from the bus. There was a small shed there to serve as shelter if it rained, and it was there I decided to wait. Inside the shed, one wall was plastered with posters advertising the dam opposition efforts. It was like the heartfelt screams of the villagers were recorded on that wall. Inside that shelter, I felt an inexplicable pressure. It wasn't like I had any relation to the dam project, but it still made me feel hesitant about being inside there. That was just how filled with the force of denial that space was. And inside that uneasy space was a girl. Oh, Rika. Is she supposed to show him around? Inside that shed, covered in words written in broad brush strokes berating the policies regarding the dam and calling for action, there was a girl sitting there with a drowsy gaze as if half asleep. The two images clashed so much that I could only stand there dumbfounded for a moment, trapped in such a surreal environment. If I stepped inside, who knew what kind of oafish sound or noises I would accidentally make? I couldn't be disturbing this girl's slumber like that. Having thought this, I gave up on entering the shed. It was just a sleeping kid, so why was I so worked up about it? Finally, I realized this girl, to us as a married couple, was the very image of our ideal child. Even after numerous examinations at the hospital, we didn't know for sure what our child's gender was. Whether we could tell if it were a boy or a girl was, in the end, dependent on whether or not we could get an image of their genitalia. There was, of course, no guarantee that it was a girl, but with things the way they were, the possibility was high. Even so, Yuki had been saying that the chances that it was a boy or a girl were even. But in my heart, I had already decided that our coming child was a girl. Since the day I decided that until now, it was so fun to imagine how our child would grow up that I couldn't help myself. Amongst those numerous imagined forms, the one that I thought to be the most ideal had materialized right in front of me. Of course, a little of it was due to the circumstances. In my ideal image, her hair would be on the short side. The girl in front of me, though, had long hair. It was almost if somebody had taken my ideal and made some small adjustments. Certainly it wasn't something unpleasant. Even so, I felt like I was sullying her just by looking at her like that. She had an immaculate, no, a divine air about her. The fuck? Big ass head. The girl with an angelic smile with a yawn wide enough you could see her molars woke up all of a sudden. I didn't mean to peep, but locking eyes with a girl who had just woken up like this somehow made me feel like I was playing a prank on her. I wasn't doing anything shady, but I became flustered. The girl spoke, no, cried out.
Me.
How'd she look exactly the same 5 years ago? Meep? Like that character on the show with the puppets? With the orange hair? I thought it was just one of those greetings kids do. So, in order to prove I wasn't a suspicious person, I responded in kind.
Me.
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 The girl stared at me dubiously with a doll-like expression. Cute, but cold and hard to read. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up who responded with meep when she said the same. Suspicious. She definitely thought I was suspicious.
Me?
We were both at a loss for words. No, the only one lost was me. The girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motives, stared at me intently. What is happening, bro? In this silence, I felt like I was the one who had to say something first. damn it, this girl was way better at interrogating somebody than Oishi.
怪しいものじゃないんだ。私は。
ニパ
Oh my god.
ニパ
What I could have only described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile, one that soon infected me. You might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like that phrase was created just to describe the smile she gave me. The girl smiling while saying "nipa" probably wanted me to return the favor in kind. That's right, this was a kid's form of communication. Having the other person emulate what you just did, was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding.
ニパ
ニパ
It was a beautiful afternoon in early summer. What was I doing?
ニパ
Well, whatever. This was interesting in its own way. If making somebody happy with just a smile was a work of angels, then this girl was definitely one of them. I couldn't help but pray that my own child, who was soon to be born, would grow up to be like this girl. That strangely gentle moment was finally brought to the end by the arrival of a car. An older person waved at me from the driver's seat, a dry smile plastered on their face.
どうも、こんにちは。遅れて申し訳ないことです。昨日お電話くださった観光の方ですかね。
あ、はい。
お待たせして申し訳ねえ。野良でちょいと遅れましてね。したらと、お乗りくださいな。天気もまんた崩れそうだから、ちゃけちゃけご案内しますよ。
天気ですか？
ああ、ここいらは崩れると早いよ。今日も夕立になるかもな。そうなったら、ほんと写真さ撮るところじゃなくなるでしょう。ほら、乗って乗って。
Turning around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Her body language somehow reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played with it a little. So charming.
あれ、リカちゃまじゃねえですか。ありがたや、ありがたや。
A girl named Rika with an immaculate smile and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hands. It was a rather mysterious sight to behold. So the girl turns her face at me, tilting her head a little in a cutesy manner. After seeing that, the elder introduces me as a tourist who came to sightsee Hinamizawa.
観光したい若者なのです。
The girl Rika-chan said that with a smile as she clung onto my arm.
まあね、この村の自然がとても貴重だと聞いたんで、ぜひカメラに収めたいと思ったんだよ。私はこう見えてもとっても写真撮影が好きでね。
富岳2号なのです。
Tomitake already exists now? Oh, they're saying Tomitake Mark II. He comes every year, but I didn't know he was already from the very first year. Huh.
富武？
牧野、僕も一緒に行ってはいけませんですか？
Oh, this person is Makino.
そんな、レカちゃまが来ても面白いことなんかなんもないですよ。レカちゃまは境内でマリ遊びでもしててくださいな。
A distinctly displeased expression creeped across Rika-chan's face. Being able to show one's emotion honestly on their face was a privilege young children had.
もしお差し支えなければ、この子も連れて行ってあげてください。
When I said those helpful words, another smile spread across Rika-chan's face with another nipa as she clung to me again. Ah, not bad at all. I want this girl to call me Papa. Bitch, you have your own fucking child coming soon. What the fuck's wrong? No, father, dad, daddy. Huh? What the? Okay. Alright, we got a Reno wannabe. Alright. What am I doing? Ever since I met this girl, I was completely off my game. Just calm down.
勝たなあかんと。レカちゃまは ダメだ言うても聞かんしな。知ったらんとお乗りください。
Yeah, Oishi, get this motherfucker. He's a
さ
fucking
あ、リ
weirdo.
カちゃまも。
The hell? The old man descended from the driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van, which had Onigafuchi Alliance Town Council stenciled on the side. Rika-chan brushed me aside, dove into a seat, and began bouncing around right away. It seemed like she was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs.
あんね、リカちゃま。そんじゃおかごぜんが座れねえですよ。やだ、こら、リカちゃま。
Ha, girls are nice. I wonder if my child will play around like this too. No. It was written in the guide to raising a child that you shouldn't dote on them. Kids are kids, if you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them.
ふかふかでバインバインでニパ
ニパ
I'm definitely going to be a terrible father. It was decided that I would be a doting parent before my child was even born.
さんじゃあお客さん。風景の綺麗そうなとこで適当にご案内しますよ。
Don't worry, I'm the same way, bro. I can't be mean to Dodi. I spoil his motherfucking ass. Fucking rat dog.
お昼は食べましたかいね。
ええ、ホテルで軽食を。
You're mean to him all the time? No, I'm not, bro. Alright.
そんですか。では参りましょうかね。
ー。ひなみ沢観光に出発なのですよ。わ
You call him fat? You guys act like he understands what fat means.
ーいなのです。
君
He
は
does? No, he
リ
doesn't.
カちゃんで
If
いい
you say, "Oh, you're such a fatty," like that, like you think he understands, he hears the tone and he just thinks it's a good thing. Okay, it's all about tone with dogs.
そうなのですよ。フルでリカと言いますです。もう繰り上がりの足し算とかもできますですよ。
ああ、そうなの。それはすごいな。
Yeah, but somehow you are so mean to somebody today that made the guy unfollow, bro. Listen, okay? We're not doing this XQC thing. What am I supposed to say? All right, bro. You know what? You can come back. My fault. All right, I'll click your link. All right, like, are we doing the stupid Pepe thing? Like, do that? Oh my lord. All right. Hey, if someone knows Ignacio, tell him. I'll click his next link. Hi. He's in his bed crying. Hey, buddy. Actually, found a script for the Pepe bit now.
お指とかは折ってませんですよ。ちゃんと暗算でできますですよ。
The way she insisted upon that was just too cute. At some point, the nervousness I had about being alone in enemy territory had evaporated like it was never there at all. I had to be at least a little thankful that I met this girl.
じゃあ出発しましょうかいね。南沢大自然ウォッチング。
The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. Oh, new song. Okay, bro, what are you doing taking pictures of 9-year-olds? Okay. Nice. The old man who was apparently named Makino, was he the same Makino that was listed as the auditor of the Onigafuchi Guardians? Showed me around places that were all breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of a city. Scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. At first, I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act, but midway through, I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist traps had their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unspoiled nature of the place. If there wasn't that whole uproar over the dam, I would want to bring Yuki with me here some other time. I wanted her to breathe in this fresh air, as well as show her this rejuvenating verdant scenery.
こんなのが面白いのですか？赤坂は変な人なのです。
いや、こういう円筒状の郵便ポストなんて今はとても貴重だよ。どことなく漂うノスタルジックな雰囲気は渋いと思わないかな。
ひなみ沢は楽しいですか？
ん？まあ楽しいよ。退院したらぜひ家内を連れてもう一度来たいよ。その時には生まれている子供も一緒にね。今は出産を控えて入院しているんだ。予定日がもうすぐでね。君みたいな可愛い女の子だといいんだけど。
お客さんはもうすぐおめでたですかいね。そんないけねえよ。奥さん惚れ出してこんなとこに遊びに来てちゃ。
Ooh, true. I was momentarily at a loss for words. Bro just kind of fucking... It was exactly how Makino said. There was no good reason for a man who was waiting for his wife to give birth to be playing around idly in this place. Did I slip up?
まあひなみ沢への旅行は前々からの予定だったんで、妻の家族が付き添ってくれているから。
そんな年前から予定してたんならもしかめ間に合わんとかいね。いや、そんだったらこんな窮屈な思いさせんと綺麗な観光バスで回れたのに。
Didn't seem as if Makino was actually digging for anything. But if this conversation continued any longer, it would just put some unexpected holes in my cover. I halted the conversation by pretending to take another picture.
んざ最後の一番景色のいいとこさ案内しましょうかね。
It was slightly before evening. The sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze had begun to mix itself into the air. It seemed my exploration of Hinamizawa with Rika-chan was just about done.
一番景色のいいところですか？
そんなリカちゃま、境内からの景色さを置いて他にはありませんやね。
Hearing that, Rika-chan smiled even more.
では赤坂を僕のお家へご招待なのです。
リカちゃんのお家って
神社ですよ。古で神社、高台にありましてね。景色さ見られるんですよ。
古で神社。
The girl who called Furude Shrine her home, Rika. If I remember correctly, her full name was Rika Furude, and Furude was, that's right, one of the three families. Even if the Sonozaki family is said to hold all the actual power, it was still one of the old houses that held some authority. No more important than that right now was Furude Shrine. If I remember correctly, Oshi had told me, within the grounds of the Furude Shrine there were the offices of the Onigafushi Guardians, and since the land around Furude Shrine were private property, the police couldn't set foot there heedlessly. Furude Shrine, where even Oishi couldn't simply set foot into, the main base of operation for the Onigafuchi Guardians. I had been given the unexpected opportunity to enter there. I couldn't have asked for more.
楽しみです。ぜひお願いします。
じゃあ、酒々参りましょうかね。天気も少し怪しいですからな。
Sky had suddenly become overcast. It wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. Okay. The van stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Also parked there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of them to act as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the sides of each vehicle was scrawled, "The dam project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last. No Oyashiro-sama's anger." Or a slogan of similar kind. They gave the feeling that even without using the loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm any onlookers. Vertical banners were erected in various places. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objections against the dam or crude insults towards the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed that without a doubt this was the headquarters of the Onigafuchi Guardians. For Rika-chan, however, this hectic place was also her home.
着きましたのですよ。ただいまなのです。
Rika-chan crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Makino had noticed that I was looking at the protest
神
banners.
社はダム反対運動の事務所も兼ねてましてね。こんな風景もあんたらには反安保闘争みてえで懐かしいでしょ。
Student movements against government policies, movements that bordered on terrorist activity, were at one time commonplace, if only in order to garner global attention. Students holding out in lecture halls, brawling with riot squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time.
私は別に活動家ではありませんので、普通に学び、普通に卒業しました。国の政策にあのような暴力や立てこもりで対抗しようというのには。
はあ、あんたそれはそれで立派な意見さお持ちだね。
政策に意見したかったら同じ意見の政治家に投票するか、自ら政治の世界に飛び込み、正当な手続きを持って意見を主張するべきであると思っています。それが民主政治の原点です。それに暴力で挑戦するなどあってはならないと思います。
For a youngin', you have some fine beliefs. I saw that feeling of respect reflected in Makino's gaze. At that moment, something tugged at my sleeve.
赤坂が何を言っているのか全然わからないのですよ。
Rika-chan, feeling like she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. That expression was so charming. I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. It's often said that a father wants to spoil his daughter rotten. I think I understood that feeling very well.
ごめんね。リカちゃんには難しい話だったね。日本は平和の国だから、自分の言いたいことは平和的に訴えなきゃいけない。暴力で訴えてはいけない。ということさ。
No matter how much I explained, a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. It probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika-chan anyway.
では赤坂、
あ、
僕たちの村はどうやったらダムに沈まなくなるのですか？
Oh shit. Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here I was at the main headquarters of an organization telling them their way of doing things was illegal. Preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling that had mixed itself in the respect in Makino's gaze. It was then I finally realized it wasn't that simple. Wait, chat, genuine question. Isn't Rika like 4 years old here? Or like 5? Yeah, she's like 5. Like, what the hell? I mean, So chat, like, I'm convinced if Rika's like this, bro, you know Mion's fucking locked in. She's on the front lines, man. There wasn't a soul who would argue that what I was saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everybody knew you shouldn't be proud of. However, right now, Hinamizawa was in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. The legality of the Hinamizawa Dam project, though, through the efforts of the various propaganda campaigns enacted by the Onagafuchi Guardians, was being called into question. If they further strengthened their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that was at most just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before this place was at the bottom of a lake. If it wasn't for the unrestrained resistance of the residents of Hinamizawa, this place might already have been underwater.
僕たちはここでしか生きていけないのです。都会では生きていけないのです。
The words of this remarkably young girl were all too accurate, carrying with them the screams of the hearts and minds of the residents of Hinamizawa. Of course, there was nothing I could say to respond to that. I could only respond to Makino and Rika-chan's heavy words with silence.
すみません。よそ者が気安く言えるような問題ではなかったですね。謝罪します。
Makino, unsure of how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly.
お客人たちのようなよそに住んでる方々には関係ねえことです。ひなみ沢さん気に入ってくださったんなら、お客人のお友達みんなにもひなみ沢さん素晴らしいところだって宣伝してください。そういうのが何十年何百年と広がっていけば、この村さダム底に沈めるなんてふざけた計画もやがてはついえるんですかね。
He followed that with a smile that said, "Please don't think much of it." Makino letting me not worry that much really was a stroke of good fortune. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension at being in enemy territory. Being reminded of this right before I was going to step foot into their headquarters might have been a good thing. If we'd had this exchange in the middle of their office, if there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Thinking of how extreme they were, in the worst case, my life could have been in danger. It seemed that I looked quite despondent at that moment. Makino, thinking he had said something wrong, became flustered, trying to think of a way to improve my mood.
本当に軽率なことを言いました。本当にすみませんでした。
いいえ。そんなにお気にされないでください。
今日案内してもらった村のあちこちはどこもとても美しく素晴らしい場所ばかりでした。もう一度来たいと心底思わされました。そんな美しい村がダムの湖底に沈むことになれば必死の戦いになるのもわかります。
I had somehow managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favor. After a bit, Makino had returned to his usual high spirits. It seemed he believed I completely sympathized with his point of view.
そうそう。そんな話はこれくらいにしましょう。本当にとても景色さえいいところがあるんです。
行きましょうですよ、赤坂。
Rika-chan, seemingly happy to be free from all the boring and gloomy adult talk, bounded up the stone steps. There was no real need to run, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were several folding tables and chairs, and a number of the older town council members were livening things up with chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary like the dam project must be destroyed. It was just some relaxed idle chit-chat between local geezers. The normal sort of calming scenery. At the entrance of a shed that looked like a meeting place, there was a large sign erected with Onigafuchi Guardian Headquarters written in bold brushstrokes. That was their base of operations. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. If you asked what I had been imagining, this is a bit embarrassing, but I had thought it would be something much more dramatic, with barbed wire fences and barricades. My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple backwater town hall. It didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The old folks who were chatting had noticed Rika-chan's presence.
リカちゃまじゃないの。もう子供はお家に帰る時間だよ。
Hi, Dodi.
ここは僕のお家なのですよ。
The old folks guffawed since she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell that this Rika Frude girl was loved by everybody.
牧野さん、
Yeah.
その人電話をくれた観光の人は
The fuck?
そんですよ。こちら村長さんに、ひなめ沢の久米吉村長さん。
Oh shit, this is the mayor? He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he would be scary if he got angry. But it looks of things that this old man was the president of the Onigafuchi Guardians, none other than Kichiro Kimiyoshi himself. This is the fucking mayor, bro.
ようこそひなみ沢へ。いかがでしたか？静かでゆっくりしたところでしょう。
ええ。今日一日美しい場所をいくつも堪能させていただきました。貴重な機会をお与えくださったことを感謝します。
I have the Benjamin Button diseases. Alright? 10 years ago I looked like that. As I get older, I'm actually becoming younger.
ふう。
今時の若い方なのにまた真摯な方だね。うんうん。
喜一郎、赤坂に見晴らしのいいところを案内したいのですよ。
Thinking about the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for far too long, Rika-chan butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name, I felt it was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. A girl of the Furude household, one of the three families. She was probably different than the average villager.
赤坂、こっちなのですよ。
Rika-chan tugged at my sleeve. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over, and waiting for me was a magnificent view.
これは
It was an observation deck that looked down on the village. They knowing that this was the best view in the entire village kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but I had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, it wouldn't be able to show everything. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be that I would be able to put it into words. It was just such a breathtakingly spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while, I was left awestruck. I could only stand there and wonder. A cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika-chan, who had been holding onto my sleeve the entire time, spoke.
僕の一番のお気に入りの場所なのですよ。
As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. That smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam
こんな
reservoir.
村が湖底に沈むことになってるなんて
Man, this
信じられ
motherfucker
な
be
いよ。
saying some really stupid fucking shit all the time. I said it quietly so that only Rika-chan could hear it. I regretted it as soon as I did, for those words were all too cruel. However, Rika-chan didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a
沈
smile.
みませんよ。ダム計画なんて必ずなくなっちゃいますのです。
Like, motherfucker, like, am I crazy, chat? Like, I don't ever in reality, like, start thinking things and, like, accidentally my mouth starts saying it out loud. Like, bro, like, these motherfuckers just be saying shit. Like, for no reason. Just keep your mouth shut. Just think it. There was no basis for her saying so. It was just her wish.
赤坂はこの村が沈んでしまうと思っていますか？
Oh shit, he's about to say, don't say something stupid.
沈んでほしくなんか
I knew how
Nayo.
important the dam was. I knew that it was necessary. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices that would be made. I agreed with the project in general, but couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery wouldn't be taken away from her, I might be able to object to the dam. I might be able to ignore the interests of the nation, the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. I'm not really much of a humanist, but how sentimental of me.
沈みませんよ。ダムの計画はもうすぐなくなりますですから。
Her words weren't just hopes and dreams, but were seasoned with a hint of resolve. As if she was talking about an unchangeably predetermined outcome. As surely as the sun rising in the
もう
east.
すぐなくなる
Wanting to ask her why she believed that, I turned around.
はい、なくなりますのですよ。
どうしてそう言い切れるんだい
それはなのです。
She's from the future! She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say.
赤坂が何をしてもしなくても、ダム計画は今年で終わりになってしまうのです。
Whoa, why does, what? Regardless of what Akasaka does, why does it sound like Rika knows who the fuck he is?
もう決まっていることなのですよ。
That was a lie? If something like that had already been decided, then the Onikafuchi Guardians would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the dam project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was at the checkpoint or at the bus stop. The villagers, with their misplaced resolve, were still fighting. And this girl, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had already declared their victory. The villagers throwing themselves into this endless war and this optimistic girl who said they had already won. That contrast was somehow strange.
どうしてそう思うんだい？何か確信があるなら私に教えてくれないかい？
Rika-chan stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say.
だって。
だって。
She looked like she was lost on whether she should continue or not. As if she was troubled on whether it was okay for her to say it, that kind of
決
expression.
まっていることなのです。他に言いようがないのですよ。
決まっているって言ったって。
It really is just a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe it was actually true. She was the only one saying such things with such confidence. My real mission that I had forgotten about during the fun-filled day resurfaced at the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Had the Onigafuchi Guardians kidnapped the minister's grandson and already succeeded in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that and was just playing dumb? Was that what this girl was really telling me?
赤坂。
The girl called out my name suddenly.
東京へ帰れ。
Huh? I was only surprised at that sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I had never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, she might be able to guess where I was from. What was I getting so worked up over? It was probably the sudden and complete change in her demeanor.
あなたはさっさと東京に帰った方がいい。
Yo, what is this voice? What is this voice? From a 4-year-old. I don't know, man. Yeah, her voice is pretty deep for a 5-year-old. Like, what's going on, man? I'm telling you, Chad, this shit is oh man.
でないとひどく後悔することになる。
The girl had been holding my sleeve the entire time. She'd been tugging at my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika-chan who I'd spent the entire day with. There was no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She had been holding onto my sleeve this entire time. But somehow this girl was someone other than Rika-chan. She looked like Rika-chan, but she wasn't. She was some girl I had never met before. That girl had told me in a different voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my
それ
heart.
があまりにもみすぼらしくて気の毒な姿だから今のうちから警告してあげているのです。
What the fuck, man?
どうして私が後悔することになると。
いちいちうるさいな。
Whoa! Stop whining. Couldn't believe that I was hearing such cold words come from Rika-chan's mouth. Bro, we've never seen Rika act like this for the first 3 chapters. What the fuck? I just couldn't believe it. Was somebody impersonating her using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move.
あなたの親はあなたが赤信号の横断歩道の真ん中にいるときどうして危ないのかを全部説明し終えるまであなたの手を引っ張らないの。引っ張るでしょ。まず歩道まで連れ戻してからなぜ危険なのかを解くでしょ。
Damn, so Rika's that parent trying to pull him back before he fucking needs an explanation.
つまりはそういうこと。
The girl I had spent time with, Rika Furude, would not speak like that. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with brief childish remarks expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words.
警告はした。勘違いしないでほしいのは、私があなたを嫌いだからこういうことを言ってるわけじゃないってこと。死んでもいい人に危険なんかを教える必要はないのだし。
What the fuck?
君は誰だ？リカちゃんじゃない。
I'm getting like insane burn vibes right now. As soon as I accused her of not being Rika-chan, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. Oh, it was a laugh not being fitting of a child of her age. Who's Burn? Umineko. Chat, which came first, Higurashi or Umineko? Higurashi came first, right? Yeah, okay, yeah, so, yeah. Burn is based on Rika, obviously. Her change was just that, total and complete. Was Rika-chan being attacked by something terrifying, some terrifying phenomenon? That occult idea came to mind without any sort of hesitation. Didn't Burn make the poems? Yeah, I don't know if you guys paid attention, but in the beginning of every single game, like, the poems, I don't know if they're official, like, yeah, but, like, they always said it was by Burn. Rika-chan is acting strange. Somebody help. Thinking that I'd yell that, I turned to where the mayor was. I immediately realized he was looking at us with a smile. That's right, to him, it looked like nothing more than me and Rika-chan fooling around. He didn't notice that there was something terrifying happening to her.
赤坂の怖がり。
Oh shit, bro's getting flamed by a 4-year-old. The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. 4-year-old walks up to you, a full-grown 30-year-old plus man, and calls you a pussa. Noticing that and calling me a coward, she laughed again. That cackling girl approached me in a strange manner while still still laughing. Lost her balance and fell flat on her face. Wait, what? Rika-chan fell down. If it was just a while before, I would have extended a hand to help her out without hesitation, but now extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika-chan, but wasn't, required a bit more courage than I had at the moment.
Me.
I'm so confused. What the fuck was that? What's happening? And why the fuck have we never seen Rika do this a single time before? The girl cried out thus, and then squirmed upright and dusted herself off. Maybe this is something Rika only does to adults, right? And not, like, fellow kids. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. Like, she feels like she's maybe beyond, like, kids. Like, when she decided, like, she was gonna help Keiichi, right? She's like, oh, this fucking little baby bitch Keiichi, you know? I'm, you know? Was she making fun of me? What's up, Genazad? A way of acting. It was as though, after being possessed by something, she had lost her memories of what happened.
冗談だろ、リカ。
Me.
I don't know if Rika-chan had heard me or not. She just cried out like that, as if questioning her. We don't know if she did try to kill Mion, but failed though. Well, we don't know what was actually in the syringe. It could have just been water. You know? We don't know.
お客人、リカちゃまもお茶が入りましたよ。塩大福もあるからにぜひ食ってきんさいな。
Okay. Wow, the latest video on YouTube comes up as our live stream. Wait, that Nightbot command is actually kind of clutch. Because it's the latest thing that's been put onto YouTube, it just links to live stream. Wait, is Twitch gonna ban me for that? Technically, you're not supposed to link direct. Hearing that there were snacks, Rika-chan's expression changed. Nano Detsu, a carefree smile. That was a familiar smile, the one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of the creepy girl that was just there spouting sinister words had vanished.
手を洗ってきんさいね。バッチおててにゃ食わせるまんじゅうはありんせんね。ちゃんと洗いますですよ。
Rika-chan responded with vigor, running off to a washing station that was along the side of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call to me.
早く来ないから、僕は赤坂の分までおまんじゅうが食べられてホクホクなのです。お手手を洗わない人はおまんじゅうが食べられないのですよ。
The hell is a manju, bro? Oh. Okay. Usually a small, dense bun with a sweet filling. Okay, looks good. You better finish this chapter tonight? Fuck no, it's 2 chapters a day, bucko. No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika-chan. Those words and the way she said them, no matter how you heard them, they were definitely Rika-chan's.
大人なんだからお手本を示してやってくださいな。
Really? Jenna asked nicely? Yeah, I would fully finish the chapter today if Jenna's been hitting the gym every day. But I know he hasn't been. The last like 5 times I tuned into Jenna's stream, bro, he's just fucking chip bag in his hand. I need Jenna to lock in, okay? We said both at the end of the year we're gonna fucking, we're gonna reveal our progress together. Well, every other day? Wait, have you actually been going back? Splish splash. I stared at Rika-chan, intent on washing her hands properly, like she had probably learned at school.
みー、間違っていますか？
間違いって。
僕のお手手の洗い方です。金シールを4個しかもらったことないです。僕はお手手を洗うのがきっと下手なのですよ。
She didn't get 5 gold stars. Or stickers, she only got 4.
間違ってなんかないよ。それだけしっかり洗えてれば十分だよ。
ニッパー。
それだけではダメなのですよ。赤ちゃんとたわしを使って爪の間の赤も落とさないと金シールはもらえないのです。
Oh, why is everybody cringing, giving me shit when I say Nippa, but when Rika does it, it's okay? Okay, whatever, man.
リカちゃんは真面目で偉いな。
Because you're not her. Oh, okay. I see. It's kind of weird. Well, whatever.
ニパー、赤坂に褒められましたのです。
No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika-chan. There was no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl?
リカちゃん、さっきのあれはどういう意味だい？さっきリカちゃんは私に
50-year-old wants to act like a 5-year-old. First of all, I'm 31.
そう言っただろ。
言いましたのですか？
I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what that girl just now had said. Like I would ever believe something as occult as that could happen. Like I would ever believe that Rika-chan could be possessed by that strange girl and say those creepy things.
リカちゃんが確かにそう言ったよ。
Her expression told me that, despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb, she actually didn't know. exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika-chan had, I let a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us, both looking like we had no idea what was going on, must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking of tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Guardians that highlighted their resistance efforts. Older folks talked passionately on how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika-chan, who had heard these stories countless times before and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika-chan noticed I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika-chan's. After all, there was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika-chan lessened with the passing of time, but I could by no means forget what had happened. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said that they had prepared dinner, but I said I would come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to my hotel and file my regular report with the section chief.
さあ、では、また明日もぜひいらっしゃい。お電話さくれれば、すぐに迎えを出しますんでね。
ご好意感謝します。ぜひ明日も遊びに来ようと思います。
Chad, he can't die. This is his flashback.
ねえ、さしてあげてくださいな。あんた、レイカちゃまに大層気に入られたみたいだしね。
赤坂は明日も来ますですか？明日は5次元で終わりですから、3時くらいに来てくれると嬉しいのですよ。
Oh no, don't do it, Akasaka. They're gonna bring you into club activities. Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing other than my hallucination. Thinking about it logically, if the daughter of the Furude household, one of the three families, had taken a liking to me, then this was a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It was like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. If only I could treat that little incident as a figment of my imagination, then having this girl who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter grow so attached to me wasn't bad either. I successfully dove into the belly of the Onikafuchi Guardians and had the mayor as well as other important members of the alliance welcome me with open arms. This was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced down on almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. Shock from that incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. Damn. Anti-dam club activities. Yeah, we're like, alright, Akasaka, it's your turn to throw a rock at the police officer. Whoever hits the most police officers win. Alright. Nice, nice, nice. Alright, hold up. Let's see what these tips were. Child Mion and Kantoku? Oh, we're gonna have to check this one out. Oh, we'll check this one out real quick.
だいぶ血圧も良くなってきましたよ。
This fucker.
そのお年で
I'm still
これだ
onto
けの
you.
回復力があるの
I'm
は
still onto you,
いや
Erie.
いや
I don't trust your ass.
感服するばかりです。お嬢さんなら100でも200でも元気にお過ごしになれますね。
The young doctor in his medical coat said that as he undid the blood pressure cuff from the arm of the old. Hey! Stop it! No licking pillows, pervert. Fucking creep dog. Blood pressure cuff from the arm of the old woman tucked away in her futon.
入江の先生はほんにお上手で、わしんたいな死に損ないは早うしなんと若者の邪魔になっていけんね。
Hey, Shanu, think over to 57 months. The old lady, Oryu, laughed faintly with a broad smile on her face. Then turning towards the sliding door, she called out in a strong
しみ
voice.
こさん、片江子さんおらんね。入江先生に麦茶でも入れてやれやな。
Sound of rushed footsteps from the hallway drew closer until finally the door slid smoothly open. What it revealed was a young girl. It looked like the old lady's granddaughter.
しみこさんは今日はもう上がっちゃったよ。何かよ。
Okay, so like, what? So the remake art just never changed their age at all? Like, this is the same Mion art that they used for, like, when we played as Keiichi. This too. So, like, how come the console art just got, like, fucking big-ass head fucking kid versions?
ミオ、入江の先生に麦茶を入れたってんな。
Got a bunch of bobbleheads over here, bro.
了解。バチェも飲む？紅茶の方がいい？砂糖もミルクもたっぷり？
わしが加減するから入れんでええんね。砂糖壺とミルクも一緒に持ってきてんな。
はいはい。
A girl named Mion, after giving a rather uninterested response to her taskmaster of a grandmother, returned to the hallway.
先生の麦茶は来客用のガラスジャーに入れるんよ。水滴もちゃんと拭き取っとくんね。
わかってるって。うっさいな。
Fussy pants? A tired voice wafted a reply from down the hallway. The apathetic tone of the voice was far from unusual. The old lady let a wry smile slip across her face as she chided the girl.
しょうがないやっちゃな。叱られるうちが離んねえ、なんたく。
おりょうさん、まあ、そこまでは言わなくても、ミオンちゃんも若いなりに頑張ってますから。
あれの母親もな、しょうがないやっちゃったんね。よう似とる。
で、その母親の母親もまたそっくりなんじゃないですか？
The old lady burst out laughing. Her expression showed she hadn't taken the comment the wrong
入江
way.
先生、申し訳ない。症状開けてもらえんけんね。風が涼しそうだわ。
Cool chirping of the Higurashi had at some point started leaking through the gap in the doorway. Ide stood up and opened the door a bit. Oh my god, it's this scene, chat. This is where Mion asked us if we could follow her one last time, you know? And then she fucking went demon mode.
日中はだいぶ暑くなったように思うんですが、まだ朝夕は涼しいですね。夕べは少し肌寒いくらいでした。
Man, you never do reacts? Fries, we do it for the first like 2 hours of every fucking stream. You stupid motherfucker, French fry looking bitch.
そんな朝夕もまた、ひなみ沢のいいところな。
I'm sleeping, bro? That sounds like you need to change your sleep schedule, okay? Did you just start multi-streaming, Mr. Faber? Hey, Saki. Yeah, I just started like, I think 3 days ago? Yeah. We still got 100 people on YouTube during variety, so this is Pog, you know? It's not even like, you know, like normal variety, I guess. It's like visual novels, so I expect even less people to stick around, but... Irie replied with a smile as he returned to sit on the cushion beside the old lady. And then the two of them, for a little while, soaked in the voices of the Higurashi.
わしゃ100まで生きにせ。もうしばらくは死ねんよ。ダムの剣、きっちり蹴りつけるまでは、勘の蓋かって収まらんわ。
国が一度決めたことを撤回するのはなかなか難しいでしょうね。
国のやることはな、いつの世も一周す回すみたいなもんね。そんでもだいぶ重いやっちゃ。
石臼ですか？
知らんねか、石臼。
Irie quickly affirmed that of course he knew what the old lady was talking about, for he knew full well that Oryu didn't like having her stories
国
interrupted.
の石臼はな、なんでもゴリゴリ引いちまうん。大したもんよ。でもな、簡単には回らない。重い石臼なんねんな。たくさんの人間が、せーのってやって、ようやくじりじりと動き出す。そんな石臼なんよ。
Irie pursed his lips, listening quietly to what she was saying. Eventually, Mion returned with some tea laid out on a tray. Seeing that Odio was talking and in a good mood, she quietly knelt down and laid out the sets for the barley and black tea, careful not to
だ
interrupt.
から一度回り始めたら簡単には止められんね。回し始める一番初めが一番重い。それが嫌だからみんな手を休めんとゴリゴリ回し続けるんね。
摩擦係数の話でしょ。確かにバッチャの話、理屈はあるね。
ちゅうことはだ。何かの間違いで突然イシュースが止まっちまったら、また回すにゃどえらい力がかかる。ちゅうこったな。
確かに一度中断した計画をもう一度動かすのに必要なエネルギーはかなりのものでしょうね。
簡単には止められんイシュースだけどな。一度止めれば二度とは回らん。そういうイシュースよ。
イシウスを止めるいい手があればいいんですがね。
When Irie responded with that, Mion and the old lady suddenly sunk into silence. Irie, instinctively thinking he had said something rude, searched in a small panic for the words to correct himself. But that silence wasn't the result of rude words. For what crept across Mion and the old lady's faces was contemptuous smiles. What the fuck? Even, see, I told you, even at this age, Mion's fucking already been trained, bro. What if that's already Shion? True, and it's not Mion the whole time. The atmosphere surrounding Ide suddenly froze, leaving him flabbergasted. Thinking that the scornful smiles creeping across both of their faces was the result of some mistake of his, he could only grow afraid. Maybe the director isn't, It hadn't been that long at all since he was enveloped by silence. However, unable to stand it, Ide could only let out a weak laugh. Ide's laugh eventually spread to Mion and the old lady, not knowing exactly what they were laughing at. Their laughter left a lingering chill. The only one not laughing were the Higurashi, who continued their simple and unchanging chorus. Okay. Alright, chat. Think that is a good spot to wrap up for today. Hang on. Okay. What the fuck? Okay, and yeah, thank you everybody for hanging out today. 2 chapters, you said 3? I did not say 3. Why are we just making shit up, okay? 2 chapters. There we go. Big 2. You literally did? No, I fucking didn't. Why would we just stop? No, we did not say 3 fucking chapters, okay? Very nice. We're already at the end, or we're already at chapter 3 in this. Let me see. How many hours are we already into this? We're already 3 hours in, and people are saying this is a, like, short one. So, yeah. We might be halfway already done with this. If you do 2 chapters tomorrow, you'll finish the game. Okay. Actually, tomorrow might be a little rough, okay? I mean, we got Uma Musume, and, yeah, it's, we got Jufufu. You better take a good long break for that scene, huh? Can you, wait, for chapter 8, the final scene takes 7 hours to read? Shut the fuck up. No, it fucking doesn't. That sounds ridiculous. Can you imagine a 7-hour chapter just keeps going? That would be insane. Yeah, there we go. Thank you everybody for hanging out as always. All the YouTube frogs who have stuck around all the way through Variety as well. I'll be checking out the last couple people who are signing up for Jufufu polls. We always have Jufufu polls tomorrow. We have Uma Musume tomorrow. Very exciting. For Uma Musume, you want to go to bottom right and click download all data so you don't have to download in-game. Oh, okay. I'll do that. But yes, sir. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Let's see. Is anybody live? Is anybody live? Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. 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 Right, Jenna? Oh, looks like Jenna just went live. I'll send you guys over there. Good night, everybody. Good night. Adios. Bye-bye. Good night, everybody on YouTube. Dark Matter, Raishu, Foul Soul, PP, Jera, Wild, etc. Thank you guys for hanging out as always. Good night.